blew up Buddhist statues then in Afghanistan. Yeah, so the Imam, the Christ, are ideas that are sort of very close to the Buddha in Buddhism. The idea of reincarnated in different people. And in the sectarian Judaistic groups, Judeo-Christian groups that I mentioned, once again we go back to the secret Adam or hidden Adam idea. Sometimes we call, according to the Ebionites, the primal Adam. And again, they have the same idea that Adam was incarnated. And you see, if you read the letter to the Corinthians, first letter to the Corinthians, if you read chapter 15 and 16, you'll see that Paul knows the idea of the hidden first primal Adam idea. He said, and the first Adam was born of the flesh, but the second Adam, meaning Jesus, was born of the Spirit. And so on and so forth. So, and he goes on about the first Adam was of the earth, the second Adam was of the Spirit, and so on and so forth. And in Islam, of course, Adam is the person created without any mother and father. Jesus is the second Adam in the sense that he didn't have a father. He had a mother, but didn't have a father, according to Islam. But in any case, this primal Adam is not far from what the Imam means. Literally, Imam means to stand in front of. In the traditional Islam, it's the prayer leader on the Friday who stands in front of the congregants who are praying in unison behind him. It's the person who stands in front. But I think, in fact, it owes a lot to these primal Adam, Buddhist, and other influences that have been coming through here through Gnosticism earlier. So, Ali's family are the Imams, and they get reincarnated in each new generation. They are kind of supernatural in the sense that they are reincarnated. Ali becomes like the Imam, like the Adam, like the primal Adam, reincarnated, like the Buddha. That's why Orthodox Muslims don't consider Shiite Muslims to be Islam. They don't like it. They think it smacks of other influences, and maybe it does. But anyway, the pretense is it's a family caliphate based on the descent from Ali. Okay, so Hussein, the legend is another really interesting legend called Perfidious Kufa. Now, we are dealing in southern Iraq with American and British troops where Kufa is. Kufa is more out in the Arabian desert, close to the Saudi border than Basra, but it still is in Iraq today. And the thing is that these were all Shiite areas back then. These were all Shiite sympathizing areas back then. And the legend is that they invited Ali to come north, where he was in Medina, and that they would support him against Muawiyah's son Yazid. And in 680, Ali did so. Hussein was. They invited Hussein to come north. And in 680, Hussein did that. And apparently he had, 70 family members. It sounds like the 70 elders in Judaism, the 70 apostles. In any case, he went north with 72 people, the same number as the Jews always talk about going up on Sinai with Moses. There are definitely connections there. The commemoration of Hussein's death is the 10th, the Ashura, and of course Yom Kippur in Judaism is on the 10th day of the first month. So there's a lot of melting back and forth. I can't trace it all for you, but there's a lot of cultural interaction going on here, which is happening beneath the surface. The Muslims won't acknowledge any of it, but that's not, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. No believer ever acknowledges anything that's before their time anyhow. So that's normal. But in any case, there's something going on here. But he comes north, and the reason Perfidious Kufa is called Perfidious is, the legend is that they didn't support him sufficiently. Be that as it may, the Umayyad police catch him outside of this town that we now call Karbala in southern Iraq, or Iraq south of Baghdad. Baghdad didn't exist at that time. And they catch him as they're coming out of the desert at Karbala, and everyone in his party is killed, including Hussein. And that's the whole thing in Shiism, a second martyr, Hussein. And his tomb is in Karbala. And that is a mosque that Saddam really did attack in the wake of the first Gulf War and bombarded it with tanks and cannon. And the American government let that happen. The American government let that happen, which I thought was a tremendously guilty thing on the part of the American government. They took the surrender of Saddam. I'm not criticizing as part of this course, just telling you what happened, you may not remember. They took the surrender of Saddam after the Gulf War, but they didn't follow it up, which got us into the present predicament we're in now. And then when Saddam took vengeance on all the people who had opposed him, they didn't do anything to help them. And the idiots who made the peace arrangements let Saddam keep all his helicopter gunships. So he used all these helicopter gunships to destroy all these people who the American government was hoping was going to rise up against Saddam. And he mowed them all down and killed literally thousands upon thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, while the American government just stood by and didn't do a thing. Finally, they made a no-fly zone because they realized how guilty they were, and they didn't want to get involved again, so they had planes flying over and said, you can't fly over past this area. But the guys who were in the tent there, the big fat guy with the hand grenades on his chest, Mr. Hotshot, whoever he was, you know the one, the big general there, what was his name? Well, not his fault, he was just following instructions from Colin Powell, who was following instructions from James Baker, who was following instructions from Papa Bush, or who was taking instructions from the Saudis, who didn't want the destruction of the Saddam regime, just wanted to have his wrist slapped. But they didn't want a Shiite-controlled Iraq, so they didn't want Saddam to fall. This all comes from the Saudis. But whatever it was, the point was, what's the general of the first Gulf War? Yeah, Schwarzkopf. He sat in his tent and he made this agreement. Oh, I have an agreement. And he left it with all his helicopter gunships, and therefore he destroyed all of his enemies. You know, and one of the places was this mosque at Karbala, which is a Shiite holy site. Next time, the end of the Umayyads, the conquest of Spain, the beginning of the Abbasids, and onwards and onwards. See you then. With a little commentary on the side from the fool here. Oh, that's in Galatians chapter 4.